We're going to get started on the front bushings now. We'll start off by taking off the hood, the front fascia, the lower front skid plate. All that's going to have to be removed so you can get access to the bolts on the lower A-arm. Hood comes off just with a couple of pins. You turn those. It comes off. Fascia is going to come off. There's two bolts down here that have to come off. I don't remember what size they are. I already had to take mine off because I had my front bumper on. So two bolts that come through the bottom. You'll take those out. They're with an Allen wrench. I want to say it's a 4mm, but I could be 4mm, but I could be wrong. There's two Torx up here. They're a T30. Okay, once that's off, we need to get this frame out of the way. So what we're going to do, it looks like, is maybe just loosen it up so we can pivot it up out of the way, because there's two bolts that are down here that we have to get access to. I think first I'm going to pull the skid plate off. Okay, so it looks like just doing that, that'll get the skid plate far enough out of the way. I've got a trail armor skid. I can't remember exactly how the Arctic Cat skid works, but I would imagine if you just pull the same 4 bolts out that I pulled out, that'll give you access to this bolt right here. So we'll take off these 2 bolts, see if we can pivot this up out of the way. I'm going to have to loosen my winch up. Let me get that done. Okay, now that I've got my winch line out of the way, we need to loosen up this frame right here. There's 2 bolts down here we got to get access to. So first we'll do is pull there's some T30s that hold the fender onto this frame. So we'll take both of those out. You'll have to do one over here, but my fender's broke, so I don't have to. Next thing we're going to do is there's 2 10mm bolts that hold the support into the frame. Take those out. Then up here, there's 2 bolts that hold the rest of the support into the frame up here. It's a 10mm socket on this side, 13mm backup on the nut. Okay, with those 4 bolts out, we can actually move this out of the way enough to get access to our 2 bolts down here. So, next thing we'll do is pull the shocks off. Okay, shocks are going to be a 13 on the bolt, 15 on the nut. Alright, I've decided I'm going to do the upper A-arm first. I'm going to pull 2 brake hose clamps loose. It's a T30. So that's out of the way. The shock's already loose. We're going to pull this bolt out of the upper spindle. So this is a 13. And to get this loose, it may just pull out. If not, you can give it a little encouragement. Alright, now that all that's loose, we have a bolt up here that has to be removed. The head of the bolt's a 13, the nut is a 15. Can't get to it with any tools as far as power tools, so you're going to have to do it with a wrench all the way. Okay, to get this bolt out, it goes out the back. And the steering knuckle is, I'm sorry, the tire rack, steering rack's a little bit in the way. But if you will make sure that you are turned, if we're doing the right hand side, turned all the way to the right, that'll pull your steering rack in. It should give you room to slide that bolt out. Okay, so there's that. Now, this A-arm should just come right up. Pop the bushings out of this one, put the new bushings and the new sleeves in, and move on to the lower arm. Okay, the old bushings out. Put the new ones in. I cleaned out the inside with the Dremel. The good thing about when you get to the front is the only bushings you have left are all the same, so you can't get confused about that. Those went in really simple. This is the front upper A-arm. It gets a sleeve 0403-305. Alright, that one's ready to go back in. Okay, now the not so fun part, which is getting the A-arm back in along with stainless steel washers. I've put anti-seize on the bolt, because right or wrong it makes me feel like I did something. Okay, some blue Loctite on the threads. Not that much. Again, we're 13 on the bolt, 15 on the nut. And this is going to torque down to 35 foot-pounds. Okay, next we'll put the shock bolt back in. Little dab of blue Loctite. This one torques down to 25 foot-pounds. Alright, next we'll get the spindle back up into the ball joint. Little blue Loctite. So 13 millimeter, and it torques down to 35 foot-pounds. Throw the brake line clamps back on. There we go. Upper A-arm bushing is done. Now what we gotta do is we'll do the lower one. Starting on the lower A-arm, first thing we're gonna do is remove the bolt out of the spindle for the ball joint, 13 millimeter. Then we'll knock the A-arm out. Okay, to get the pivot bolt out of this lower A-arm, the bolt actually runs through the frame right here. That's why we loosened up all this front bumper area so that we could get access to it. 13 millimeter socket on the head of the bolt. It's a 15 millimeter wrench on the back side. The back's kind of a pain to get to, but it is doable. Pull the A-arm out. And we can swap out the bushings like we did on the other ones. Alright, now that I've got both bushings out and the holes cleaned out, put the new plastic bushings in. They go in really easily. We're going to use the 0403-402 sleeve. This is for the front lower A-arm. That one actually went in really easy. Alright, now we can reinstall it back into the car. Okay, it's time to reinstall the lower A-arm. I will say that the stainless steel washers definitely make it tight. Okay, got that all the way through. Put a little blue Loctite on the back of the threads. Okay, this bolt is going to torque down to 40 foot-pounds. Okay, next thing is getting the ball joint back into the knuckle. Loctite on the bolt. And this one torques down to 35 foot-pounds, just like the upper. That's it. Put the wheel back on, and honestly, this side's done. Okay, so the driver's side's done. I'm gonna go do the passenger side. Assuming it should be the same. If something comes up that's dramatically different that I need to show you, then I will. Past that, do the passenger side just like you did the driver's side. Then put the front bumper back on. Put the skid plate back up there. Put your hood back on, put the bolts in the fenders, and you're finished. That'll be it. Then I'll take it out, give it a ride, and probably come back with the last little bit of what I think about it. Well, I said I'd try to put a review in at the end, and I was able to go out, put about 50-60 miles on the Sport. Wow, man, the kit is good. It really is it's an insanely good kit. The installation was time-consuming. But the end product is just well worth it. I don't remember what I paid for this thing. It was $250 or $180 or $150. It doesn't matter. It doesn't rattle anymore. It doesn't squeak anymore. The suspension feels tight. Man, it is up there with the upgrades that I've done to the Sport. It's up there in the top as one of the best ones I've done. And as far as like bang for your buck and value, yeah, it's all there. It's definitely worth doing this kit. I would highly recommend doing it. I mean, the car now feels like what it should have felt like, you know, when it was brand new from the factory. Just a really good upgrade.